Hi everyone, welcome to Form and Function. Today we're going to be working on the replacement of both high pressure fuel pumps on a 2013 Audi RS5. This applies to all B8 and B8.5 RS5s and could also apply to RS4 and RS7s as well. The fuel pumps are located next to the intake manifold on the RS5. As you can see, they're both circled in blue. When the fuel pumps fail, they will typically fail internally. Sometimes not obvious that they failed. So here are a few ways to confirm that your fuel pumps are failing. Your car could be running rich or lean and you may get an engine light. You may have fuel mixing with your oil. Or your car may even have trouble starting when it's warm. The RS5 we worked on today was running lean and had fuel mixing with its engine oil. The simplest way to confirm your fuel pumps are leaking is by removing your oil cap and checking if it smells like fuel. And it did smell like fuel. Okay, we're replacing both banks' high pressure fuel pump on this B8.5 Audi RS5. We're going to be replacing it with a Hitachi replacement, which is the OEM manufacturer. The only difference is it doesn't have any Audi branding, but it's virtually the exact same unit. This job is pretty straightforward. We have one connector, two M10 bolts, so one on the left side, one on the right side, a 14mm nut and a 17mm nut. And the other side is the exact same. What I would recommend first is putting a cloth under the lines because a little bit of fuel is going to come out, and then disconnect the power cable. Crack open and remove the nuts on both fuel lines. Don't worry about any residual fuel, that's what the cloth's for. Remove both M10 bolts that are holding down the fuel pumps. I know it looks like I'm struggling, but I wanted to make sure I didn't strip the bolts. The fuel pump is spring loaded, so try to remove the bolts evenly. I'm wiggling out the fuel pump. It will take a little bit of effort, but keep moving it back and forth while pulling straight up. To install the high pressure fuel pump, you have to line up the holes, and also you may have to pull back on the fuel lines gently, just so they fall into the space of the 14 and 17mm thread to put on the fuel nut after. Okay. So make sure you're snugging up the bolts for the high pressure fuel pump. Don't over torque it. They just need to be snug. The threads on these copper nuts that are going into the high pressure fuel pump are very soft when it comes to putting the nut back on. They can easily cross thread. For example, ours cross threaded, but you can reuse the old nut from your original high pressure fuel pump if you have that issue. Another way to sort of overcome this is by loosening the high pressure fuel pump so you can angle the fuel lines at the right angle and put the nut back on. Don't over torque the nuts, just snug them up. That concludes the installation. Now it's time for my favorite part, the cold start. You'll notice a long crank, but that's normal upon the initial startup after replacing the fuel pumps. I'd recommend getting an oil change since chances are your oil is mixed with fuel.